Good evening, everybody. Futures Brizio here, 8 p.m. on Monday, Feb 10th. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I feel like I say this at the beginning of every video, but sorry for my absence. But as I also say, clearly by looking at my YouTube videos, I'm not a content creator and I'm not selling anything. And so I don't have a team editing and fancying up my videos. I just get on here and just speak raw on the microphone and tell you what I'm looking at, and that's it. And if you like it, fine. If you don't, that's cool too. So anyways, we'll just jump right in. I figured I'd just do a quick review here of where we're at with some of these instruments in Forex and futures, and give you an update on my Forex challenge, prop firm challenge. As I told you, I took a small challenge with a new prop firm, and I didn't want to take a big one because I don't, although I've read good things about this prop firm, all these prop firms make me really nervous right now. Because, in the last year or so, we've seen so many of them fail, but I tried to find one that seems to have some good backing. It's not located in some backwards third world country, with no regulatory environment at all. And so hopefully this works out. And it's a one step challenge. It's not a two-phase one. It's kind of more aggressive. So the parameters and the rules are a little bit tougher to meet because it's only one step. But I figured that would be a safer way to do it, or a quicker way to do it, not safer, but quicker. And, as long as you kind of know what you're doing, you can manage the risks that they allow, then should be fine. So anyway, so let's jump right into this. So just to bring you up to date on this challenge here, got to find the right window. And here it is right here. Okay, so this is it right here. So it's Funded Trading Plus is the name of the prop firm. Okay, and again, right here, Funded Trading Plus. I think you guys can see that on the screen. And so this is what their platform looks like that I chose, which I'm not really a big fan of this. I don't do my analysis on here. I'll obviously take the trades on here, but I don't use this platform for analysis. It has a bit of a trading view type feel to it, but like I said, I still use my MetaTrader charts on my Oanda account to do my analysis, but obviously my prop firm trades I enter on here. So you can see here in the last 24 hours right here, I closed about $600 in profit, $598.01. And that's these trades right here in the pound dollar, pound Canadian dollar, Swiss yen. And like I said, I only took a $25,000 challenge. So here's my dashboard. And I still have another $1,600 to go. It's a 10%. You have to make a 10% gain on the account, which, like I said, is a little bit higher. Most of these prop firms, if you do the two-phase one, they usually like 8% and then 5%, but they require 10% up front. But it's only a one-step challenge. But you can see, I'm up about almost $900, so I have to make $2,500, so I've got another $1,600 to go. And I've been trading pretty small lot sizes for this size account. I've only been trading about half lots because, again, I have to be very careful with the breach of their rules. It's a little bit more aggressive because, again, this is a one-step challenge, so it is a little bit tougher, and you got to be a little bit careful. It really would only take one or two bad trades to violate their loss rules in terms of especially intraday loss. Session loss versus total loss. So I think it's only like 4% or something like that you can lose intraday. So that's not very much. So you got to be careful. So this is a little bit slow and steady. You know, you're not necessarily going to get just the home run trade and, you know, just move on and from one step, like right out of the gate. You might, but you might not. So anyways, I just wanted to show you that. So we'll jump over to the charts now. And so we'll start on Swiss yen. This is one of the trades I took, which I've now closed. And this probably will keep going. We are at a little bit here on the daily chart, coming close to a potential support area down here, not too far away from there. Looking left, you know, this area, there's been a little bit of interest back here, but not too much. So I don't know if that area will hold. If we go out to the weekly chart, we certainly are making lower highs and lower lows here, you know, since this high was put in back in, when was that? At the end of June. We peaked out on here, and we've been kind of trending down since then. So we'll keep an eye on this, but when I see a level like this coming up here, it'll make me at least hesitate because I'm sure there will be a reaction coming into this level right here, which, you know, we're pretty much sitting on right now. It might go down a little bit more. And so if it gets through here, then, you know, potentially we could continue this down quite a bit lower. We do, if you look to the left here, we do have these swing lows down here. So sometimes this swing low is not the one that holds the market up. So people will trade down into here, it'll break through here, and then they'll go short again, only to have this area turn out to be the liquidity area just below what a lot of people are looking at. So like this area down here becomes the liquidity area, you know, where price turns around instead of this equal low right here, which sometimes can be a retail trap. And so, you know, I'm not overly worried about this level, but, you know, we did have a pretty good push off of there. So let's see what happens. But, you know, back to the 4-hour chart, you know, we did put in these lows today. I got out just before the market closed today, I think right about here, because it was like 4 out. Yeah, so it was this candle right here I got out a few hours ago when the market closed, the New York session closed. So I do expect that we'll probably see a potential push a little bit higher, and then maybe we'll make a new low. But there's definitely seems to be a little bit of a reaction around this price right now, which does line up with this area. So I do expect to see some sort of reaction off of this level, but I don't think it'll hold. And I think ultimately we'll push down at least back into these levels here. All right. But overall, the Swiss yen is still bearish. If we look at Canadian yen, pound Canadian, we're definitely, you know, on the daily chart, we put in this lower high back here after making this higher high. Actually, we broke this structure back here, took out all this structure, and then it rallied all the way back up, ended up making a new high, and then came all the way back down, took out this low again, and then we finally put in the lower high. So to me, this push back up here was kind of a retracement, and now I think we are looking at definitely making new lows here. So I will continue to look for entries here, and you can see I entered this trade today on this candle back here after this swing. Actually, I think I entered it last night during the when the market reopened for the week, which I don't usually do that, but I was pretty confident it was going to hold, and it did. And I took it down to these lows, and then I exited it this afternoon. I probably could hold this because I do think, you know, looking at this 4-hour chart, there's really nothing as I look, you know, to this previous price action I think is going to really hold this up and support this price. I mean, maybe down here, but I think it'll get back at least to these lows. So I remain bearish on the pound Canadian, and we'll look for shorts on that going forward. So jumping over to pound US dollar. You know, on this one, it's a lot like pound Canadian. Way back here we broke some structure and then came all the way back, made a new high. So, this probably really wasn't a structure break. This was just a higher high, higher high, higher high up here. And now we've broken the structure, and now it looks like we want to continue to go down. So I had entered here today. I just don't like this price action. We had this gap that still hasn't been filled, although that's, supports my bearish view. But, this is not a place I'm going to enter this now. On the 4-hour chart, I'd like to see, another lower high be put in here. So we put in this lower high, came down, put in this low that I traded today. So now, I'd like to see it come back up and, push back up towards here and then get some bearish price action and then have it start to work lower again. So I'm looking for something like that before I re-enter this. But at least in the short term, I'm still bearish on that. And of course, dollar Swiss is basically the opposite. But again, it's having trouble making new highs here. So we had this swing, and that was a good area to get in. I did take this a little bit late. I did close it today in profit. Actually, I got in back here. I closed it up here, so it wasn't a big move because this is the 1-hour chart, and I closed it because it is a little ugly right now. It's seeming to have trouble getting through this area. It's coming up here and just keeps throwing wicks, and it's failing continuously at this area on the hourly chart, and so that makes me a little concerned. If this is going to turn out and move lower, that also might change my bias on the pound US dollar, because that probably would go up. So, but like I said, I was a little concerned just about how much price was being held here for so many candles. And, and eventually this will probably break out. But if I'm going to look to re-enter this long, then I would probably want to see another little pullback here. And then a break of these highs, and then I'd probably look to re-enter, because if we get any kind of pullback now, then I would assume that the next break above this level would be a good place to enter straight away, because it would have already have had its pullback here, and so it probably will go and make new highs. So, but this choppy little price action, this little weird gap right here is just, I don't know, it's not clean. That's all. So. But anyways, I'm moderately bullish on the dollar Swiss. All right, and then last in Forex is the US dollar yen, which has been trading down. This is really off of yen strength, because the dollar is fairly strong, but the yen has been strong lately, which is why we've seen that big push down in the Swiss yen. The dollar yen, because the dollar is not as weak as the Swiss, then it's still trending down, but it's a little bit more choppy. But again, I do think this will make a run down. If we zoom out, here's the daily chart. We do have this level sitting down here, so I would expect that we'll probably see another push down and head towards this zone down here as a minimum. But I do think it will make another reach down to here. So even though I'm not really all that bearish on the US dollar itself, I do think that with the yen strength that we probably will see some other push down into this zone. So again, at least back to these daily lows off to the left here is where I'd be looking to target on the dollar yen. Okay, so that's like I said, I was in 4 out of these 5 pairs today. The only one I didn't have an active trade on today was dollar yen, because my bias is that the US dollar anyways is still fairly strong. It's not as strong as it's been, but it still does remain some resilience. So I was a little hesitant in shorting dollar yen. And you can see, this is the 4-hour chart. You can see really for the last couple 3 days, it hasn't gone anywhere. It's just chopping around here. This is the 4-hour chart, like I said. So we go back basically about 3 days here. It's made no progress at all. And that's because you're trading basically, a relatively strong currency of the US dollar against another strong currency currently, which is the yen. And so when you have two strong currencies against each other or two weak currencies against each other, you're going to tend to get choppy consolidating price action because they're kind of canceling each other out. In order for price to trend, you have to have an imbalance of one against the other. You have to have a weak against a strong. And the more there's that divergence between a very weak one and a very strong one, the more the divergence is, the more you're going to get these impulsive pushes. Okay. Or I should say, trends that last as opposed to just, a little flash in the pan that you might get with some news release. But to have like a sustained move like this up, for instance, right here, for all the way up to here, you would have had to have, a strong dollar against a weak yen or at least a neutral yen. So you can have a weak against a strong, or you can have a weak against a neutral or a strong against a neutral. Okay. So if you have a weak against a neutral, the price should still go down. If you have a weak against a strong, if you have a strong against a neutral, the price should go up. But ideally, you want kind of divergence. You want just the opposite. You want one strong, one weak, and that's when you're going to get the most impulsive moves and the most sustained trends. So anyways, so that's why I didn't trade the dollar yen, because it really hasn't gone anywhere, and I'm glad I didn't, because if I had gotten into this around the same time I took those other trades, at best I'd be sitting at break even right now and probably in some drawdown, just based on the last 4 to 6 candles here on the 4-hour chart. Basically the last 24 hours of price action. I'd probably be in drawdown, certainly would break even territory, and because there's not a lot of divergence in the strength of these two currencies. So there's been plenty of other opportunities in the other 4, and so that's what I chose to trade. And I don't trade any other ones right now. I've really committed myself, at least for now, to only trade a handful of pairs, and it actually has been a nice change. Instead of having to look at 20 pairs every day, it's just too much. I think even if you're trading on longer time frames where you don't have a lot of price movement in any one candle, like if you're looking at 4-hour charts or higher, you don't really, it's not like day trading or scalping where you got to be staring at it. You definitely can't trade lots and lots of pairs if you're doing that. You probably have to pick 1 or 2 and that's it. But, even for someone like myself, I still don't want to be looking at 20 pairs. And I used to do that. I used to have 20, 25 pairs up there. And, you almost got to the point where you're dreading coming to your charts to look at what was going on because it was just too much. And so I probably am going to stick to, 6 or less. Right now I got 5. Maybe somewhere down the line I'll add another one. But I also kind of chose these based on how they trend too. I took a lot of time and I basically went out to daily, weekly charts, and I looked at a lot of pairs, at least all the majors and some of the minors, a lot of the minors, and I would just zoom out on the chart and say, okay, how often does this pair tend to trend versus consolidate? And when it does go through consolidation phase, how long do those consolidation phases look? And how does it look? How does the trends feel when they're higher? There were certain pairs a lot of Canadian crosses, like Aussie Canadian, Kiwi Canadian, like those minor pairs that consolidate a lot. They have big choppy swings, and even on the higher time frames, there's lots of wicks. Like every candle has got big wicks on both sides, and it's just hard to look at. Like you just look at the chart, it looks busy and noisy, and I don't know whether that's just because of the type of pairing. The type of pairing of those two currencies, or whether they're just you take something like Aussie Canadian, maybe it just has low volume, and so it's going to be very volatile on either side. So anyways, I just tried to pick ones that, that tend to trend a lot, and when they do trend, they're relatively smooth. There's not a lot of big volatile swings, and you have to go to a long time frames to look at that. The intraday charts, like the 4-hour and lower, you're always going to have, big swings happening there. But you have to go back and look at the high time frames, a daily, weekly chart especially, and just say, what does it look like when you take the bigger picture? And so these are the 5 that I kind of settled on. I do have euro dollar up there too, but I'm not actually trading euro dollar. The dollar Swiss is basically the inverse of the euro dollar. So I don't really think there's a need to do one or the to do both of them. I think pick one or the other. And the euro dollar is the most heavily traded currency pair in the world by far, has the most volume, but it also has a lot of price manipulation and things like that going on, because the large banks and institutions and hedge funds knows that it's such a retail pair. And so I just chose to go with dollar Swiss versus euro dollar. Sometimes I'll look at the euro dollar because, again, it's basically the inverse of the dollar Swiss, almost a mirror opposite. So maybe if you're looking for a confirmation on a trade on dollar Swiss, flip over to the euro dollar and you should see just the opposite. And if you get a good confluence that way, it can be a good way to confirm a trade, but I don't actively trade it. So that's it. So anyway, so that's it for Forex. Now let's just quickly jump over to futures, and we'll take a quick look there. So I haven't been trading futures too much. I haven't really had a lot of good setups. I did trade the DAX, which I took a trade on that last night, and I was out of that this morning. Took about a 3% profit on that, but that's it. I haven't traded anything else since last week in futures. So one of the ones I'm looking at here that I added to my list is live cattle. Now there's no, you have to be careful trading this instrument because live cattle has no mini or micro contract. It's just the straight regular contract. So it's very, very easy to get creamed on this. Like if you trade correctly on this, you can make some big money fast. But if you're wrong, it's a double-edged sword. You can create some serious damage to your account. So I wouldn't recommend anybody to trade this asset unless you have a decent sized account, because you could very easily wipe your account out with one bad trade here. So because there is no smaller version of it. Like most of these other instruments have mini and micro versions, which I really like. I'll just buy multiple contracts if I want to trade more than one, but I can really fine tune my risk with micros and minis, where you can't do that with this asset because it doesn't have one. So, but anyways, looking at just the price action on this, let me take this fib off of here just for a second. So here on the 4-hour chart, you can see we definitely, have bearish order flow. We had this high that was made back here in January, and then we've been trading lower high, potential lower high forming right now. And so if we jump down a little further and we just look at where we're at now, go back to this 30-minute chart. I threw a fib on here, just say, okay, where's a good premium area to look for? And so if we draw a fib on here, you like to see it get to at least the 50%. This might go higher. These previous pullback areas, if we move this up to here, this previous swing, previous low, right here, you can see we went to the 78.6. If we look at this previous uptrend, oops, I drew it the wrong way. If we look at this previous uptrend right here, here we actually had 100% retracement. I guess I don't really need a fib on there, right? Went up, came all the way back 100% before it moved higher. So I do expect to see, unless this bearish order flow really cranks up here, I would like to see this move, a little bit higher, maybe, back towards, well, let me move this back. I got to move this back, sorry. So we'll move it back to this last area. Okay. So I'd like to see price, get at least, maybe back to this 61.8 area, which is right about in the middle of this big bearish candle. And we do have bullish price order flow right now. Higher low, higher low, higher low. So it is looking like it does want to push back up. So I'd like to see it get back above this 50% level. Maybe it gets up to 78.6. I mean, this can move a lot. So it could all the way go back to 100%. But essentially what I'll do is I will look for a shift in the order flow from bullish to bearish. So I'll go to like a short time frame. Here's a 10 minute. You can see I do have a price alert set below what appears to be a swing right here on this real short time frame. If this ends up being like a swing low and it goes higher from here, then this would be, the structure area I'd want it to break right here. This structure area right here, which is where this alert is set. Okay. If it goes up and makes another high, pulls back again, then I'll move this alert up to that next swing low that's put in and just keep following it up. And as long as it stays below this area up here, which is the major swing on the higher time frame, as long as price doesn't come up and take out this high up here at this 100% level, then this downtrend is intact. And, after such a bearish move down like this, there's no doubt price has to come and like fill some of this imbalance and probably move lower. But again, I am bearish on this until and if price breaks these highs. However, it's very likely that price will continue to push up in this bullish order flow. And then at some point, like I said, we'll get a shift in that momentum on a shorter time frame. And then when that happens, I will look to go short. Okay. But I'm very cautious on this because if I'm going to take a trade on this, I have to really be very confident about it because, if you're right and you catch a move like this, you can really make bank. But if you're wrong, it can really do damage to your account. So, all right, so on to natural gas. Natural gas continues to move higher. The price action, though, is very choppy. There's been a lot of gaps on the chart. We never filled in this gap from a couple of weeks ago. But we are continuing to move higher. We did have a swing low was put in, I guess this probably was Friday. And we gapped up higher again. We did come in and fill in this little tiny gap right here today. Price came down, wicked into here, and then started moving higher. So I do remain bullish on this. If we go to the 1 hour, I mean, there's no trade in here right now because I didn't trade this move up. So what I'd like to see is, another, maybe price goes a little higher, but at some point to see, another pullback. And as long as this area holds, to me, that's kind of the swing area. And then, see price go up and make a new high. And, I would enter probably above here. I do have an alert set. This is a little aggressive because that's pretty close to where price is now. But if we get a push down during the overnight session, this actually would turn out to be a good place to enter. Because if we get this push down tonight, early tomorrow, and then price starts to aggressively move back up, triggers my alert, and then I'd probably go straight away long from there. So I am bullish on natural gas, but the price action's a little bit ugly. So, but either way. Okay, so on to the DAX. This is the one trade I took. I got in last night right in here. This is where price was trading during the overnight Sunday night session when it opened. You can see very low volume. But I was very confident this was going to go higher because, we just keep continuing to push higher. We had this this gap down here a couple of weeks ago when all those other gaps were made on those other assets. But it never violated the swing low this right here. So I was confident this was going to continue up. And indeed it did. It came back, filled the gap, but just kept going. And so again, I entered right here last night and I got out at this swing high right up here. I think it was around this little candle right here on the 15-minute chart. I exited. It did go a little bit higher, and now it's kind of drifted back to where I exited. So I do think this will make probably another little push down. And then, I don't see any reason why this uptrend would not continue. If that's the case, then this becomes our new swing. To me, this becomes the new swing low on this 4-hour chart. So as long as price remains above here, I still remain pretty bullish on this. So anything on a shorter time frame that represents a pullback and then bullish price action, I'd probably reestablish a long position here. So I remain bullish on the DAX. And then lastly on copper, and this thing just continues to rip higher. Unfortunately, a lot of these entries are happening when I'm not on the charts. They're happening in the middle of the night, and so I'm missing them. And I just have a rule that I'm just not chasing the market anymore. And if I miss it, I miss it. We had this one right here. This was formed in the middle of the night. This was 8 o'clock on my broker, which is, let's see, that's 9 o'clock minus 5. This is 4 o'clock in the morning. This swing low was put in. And, I'm not up at 4 o'clock in the morning, And then we had this one in here. Again, this happened at same thing about 4 o'clock in the morning. And now we do have this one right here that's going on right now. Maybe this one is a little bit better. It's a little bit happening a little bit earlier. I'll take a look at this later. I just don't generally like to trade this time of day, but it just keeps pushing higher. However, to be cautious here a little bit more, if you go out to the 12-hour chart, you can see we are entering into this area, or we actually already did with this candle. With this going back in history here, this goes back to what is that? The end of September. So this high back here was put in back in the end of September, and we had this giant wick, and then price just collapsed after that. And we are back into that zone now. This high that was put in yesterday is in the range of this wick. So it doesn't mean it's going to reject off of here. Certainly not. It could just blow right through here and keep going and go right past these highs. And this certainly is showing a very bullish bias. But do want to be a little bit cautious and just understand where you're at on the higher time frames, and understand you were moving into a zone that could potentially cause some selling pressure to build in, especially as we get towards the top of this wick, which we're not there yet. Probably will take at least another day if the bullish momentum continues to get up into this area here, but we'll have to see. So I am bullish on this, most certainly. I don't know how you can't be not looking at this, but understanding again that we are approaching an area on the chart where, at least technically speaking, we could run into some selling. So that's how I feel about copper, and that pretty much marks it up. So my keys right now to look for trades that I really like to see that are relatively high confidence are going to be longs in the DAX and a potential short, hopefully setting up in cattle. And on this copper market, I do think there's room for it to go higher, but be a little bit cautious based, again, on this wick. And then natural gas, it's choppy. The price action is up. I am bullish on this, but it's kind of ugly price action. The market's been very choppy, a lot of gaps on the chart, and but if you smooth all that out, let's see if we throw a line chart on here. Last thing I'll show you. If we throw a line chart on here, we are putting in lower highs on these swing points, right? We had this big swing here, lower high, higher high, higher low, potential higher low here, right? So, this is a structural inside low right here. So, yes, it's choppy, but if you, like I said, throw something like a line chart on, it is pretty clear that it is in a bullish momentum. And so I am bullish but I do want to wait for a better entry here before I would consider going long on this. So anyway, so that's it, guys. I'm going to leave it there. Again, make sure you smash that like button on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're just finding it for the first time. And any questions or comments, leave them down below. Hope it was helpful. It's, limited assets that I'm trading, so I don't know if any of these fit into what you do, but hopefully it was helpful, at least looking at the analysis of the charts. Even if you don't actually trade any of these particular markets, that's fine. This is applicable to, anything that you are trading. So, all right. So have a great night, everybody, and we will catch up with you this week.